Welcome to AI ConvoCast, where we bring you the latest in AI and tech innovation. Quick housekeeping. Check out the affiliate links in our description. Using them supports the show, and please don't forget to rate, review, and share if you like what you hear. Let's jump right in.
So when you think about AI innovation, right, you picture like cutting-edge algorithms, amazing new models, but sometimes, the real action, the drama, it's happening behind the scenes in the deals, the handshakes, the partnerships. And that can attract a whole different kind of attention, especially from the antitrust regulator.
That's exactly right. What might look like just a smart, strategic move in the AI race, well, it can set off alarms for regulators. They're focused on keeping things competitive, maintaining that level playing field.
And that's precisely where we're jumping in today. We're doing a deep dive into the Department of Justice, the DOJ, looking into Google's partnership with Character.AI, that conversational AI startup. We've looked at reports from places like Bloomberg Law, Reuters, The Wall Street Journal. We've also got some analysis from AIM Research and details on the companies themselves. Our mission today, really unpack why this deal, which seems pretty technical on the surface, is getting this major regulatory lookover, and what it all means, for AI's future and for big tech.
Yeah, and it's bigger than just this one agreement, really. It touches on that core question: how do competition and rapid innovation coexist, especially with AI moving so incredibly fast?
Okay, let's start with Character.AI. Even the name kind of catches your attention. It was founded back in November 2021. And the founders, two people with some serious AI chops.
Yeah.
Noam Shazir and Daniel DeFreitas.
Right, both ex-Google engineers. Shazir was actually a co-author on that huge Transformer paper, foundational stuff for modern AI.
Yeah, exactly. And DeFreitas, he was leading Google's conversational AI projects, Mina and LaMDA. So these guys really, really know their stuff.
Definitely. Their background signals, deep expertise, they were right at the cutting edge of large language models.
So what did they build? Character.AI. It's a platform that lets you chat with virtual characters for fun, for education, Q&A, all sorts of things. And it just exploded after the beta launch in September 2022. Millions of users, tons of interactions right off the bat.
Huge growth. And by 2023, they'd already hit a $1 billion valuation. That's pretty impressive.
Totally. Yeah. Shows how much excitement there was around what they were doing. It wasn't just a flash in the pan.
No, clearly tapped into real user interest.
Okay, fast forward to 2024. Google enters the picture. A strategic partnership. Now, this is where the structure of the deal gets really important. It wasn't a simple buyout.
Right.
It had three main parts. First, Character.AI gave Google a license non-exclusive to use their large language models. So Google can use the tech in things like Gemini, but crucially, Character.AI keeps its IP. They can still work with others.
That non-exclusive part is key. Yeah, it means Character.AI wasn't locked down. They still had freedom to operate, partner elsewhere, potentially.
Exactly. Okay, second part, and this is maybe the more unusual bit. Google hired Character.AI's co-founders, Shazir and DeFreitas, plus some of their research team. AI Research called it a reverse acqui-hire, like Google bringing back its own former stars who'd gone off and built something big.
Strategically, getting that talent back is huge for Google. That kind of knowledge, that experience, it's gold in the AI race.
No kidding. And then, part three, the money. There was a financial arrangement. Character.AI's existing investors, they got bought out at a $2.5 billion valuation. But Google makes this point very clearly. They knew to take an ownership stake. Character.AI is still independent.
Right.
The whole deal's value is reported around, $2.7 billion, according to CRN. So, yeah, it looks less like a takeover and more like tech licensing plus a major talent grab.
Precisely. The way it's structured, it seems designed to fall just short of a full acquisition.
Which brings us right to the big question. Why is the DOJ investigating? What's their concern? Well, the core issue seems to be whether this whole Google Character.AI arrangement was deliberately put together to, avoid the normal regulatory review, the kind that usually happens with big mergers and acquisitions under antitrust laws like the Sherman Act.
Yeah, the specific worry is, did combining the tech license with hiring the key people effectively give Google control over character? AI is really valuable tech and talent, but without hitting the reporting requirements. The ones for deals over a certain amount.
Yeah.
The Wall Street Journal often mentions thresholds around $119 million, though that figure can fluctuate.
Right. Is this a way for Google to boost its AI position, maybe stifle competition by snapping up innovation and talent, but without the usual regulatory hurdles? We need to stress, though, this is preliminary. It's an investigation, no formal charges yet. Reuters reported that.
And Google's stance is consistent. They say they're always happy to answer any questions from regulators, and they keep repeating, Character.AI is independent, no Google ownership.
It sounds like, hey, we're just partners here. But the DOJ clearly thinks there might be more to it. And look, this isn't happening in a vacuum, right? There have been other similar deals catching regulators' eyes.
Absolutely. You immediately think of Microsoft and Inflection.AI back in March 2024. Similar setup. About $650 million, licensing deal, hiring the co-founder and a lot of staff. The FTC is looking into that one too, asking if it was structured to dodge merger review.
Although the UK regulators cleared it, didn't they? Said Inflection.AI wasn't a big enough player yet.
That's right. The UK's CMA cleared it based on market presence. But the FTC probe continues. And then there's Amazon hiring Adept's co-founders in June 24, also reportedly under scrutiny.
So it really looks like a pattern emerging. Big tech using these kinds of deals, licensing plus hiring, to get key AI capabilities.
It definitely raises that broader question. Is this just smart business in a cutthroat field, or is it a tactic to consolidate power without triggering the usual oversight?
And remember, all this is going on while Google is already facing massive antitrust pressure. Huge cases concerning its dominance in search and digital ads.
Yeah, the DOJ is actively trying to break up what they allege are monopolies there. They've proposed things like stopping Google from paying to be the default search engine, forcing data sharing.
Right. And that existing power in search, it connects directly to AI, doesn't it? Like, reports say Google paid Samsung to pre-install Gemini. That boosts Gemini and reinforces Google search because it's the default. It's like a feedback loop.
Exactly. It creates the synergy. Their dominance in one area potentially helps them lock up another emerging one, like AI. So regulators worry these AI partnerships could just extend that existing market power.
And we're expecting a ruling in that big search monopoly case, summer 2025? You have to think the decision, whatever it is, could influence how the DOJ proceeds with this Character.AI thing.
Absolutely. The legal reasoning, the precedent set in the search case, they could provide a really important framework for looking at the competitive impact of these AI deals.
And it's not just Google feeling the heat, is it? The whole AI sector is under the regulatory microscope now.
Definitely. You've got the FTC looking at Microsoft's OpenAI investment and Alphabet's ties to Anthropic. Even NVIDIA, the DOJ, is examining their chip supply deals. It signals a really broad, concerted effort to make sure the AI field stays competitive.
Because AI is seen as so foundational, right? For everything.
Precisely. It impacts so many industries, so much of our lives. Keeping that ecosystem competitive and innovative is seen as incredibly important.
So let's talk outcomes. What are the potential consequences here? If the DOJ does find something wrong with the Google Character.AI deal, what could that mean?
Well, the implications could be pretty significant. If they rule this kind of deal violates antitrust law, that could set a major precedent. It might lead to much tighter scrutiny of these licensing plus hiring arrangements across the tech industry. Could fundamentally change how big companies bring in AI tech and talent. Maybe force more transparency.
But there's a flip side, right? Could more regulation, even well-intentioned, actually slow things down, make it harder or more expensive for startups to get investment if compliance becomes a bigger burden?
That's the balancing act, exactly. Promoting fairness without stifling innovation. It's tricky. And for Google specifically, a negative finding here, especially on top of the other antitrust cases, well, it could definitely weaken their ability to use AI to keep their market lead.
But again, we need to underline, early stages, this investigation might just fizzle out. No enforcement action. Still, the fact it's even happening, that sends a message, doesn't it? Regulators are being way more proactive about big tech and AI.
It definitely shows a shift. They're looking beyond just traditional mergers now. They're considering the real-world effects on competition in these super dynamic markets like AI.
Okay, so let's try and wrap this up. The core takeaway here seems to be that this DOJ investigation into Google and Character.AI, it really throws a spotlight on this complex regulatory tension surrounding big tech and AI. The big question hanging over it all is, are these kinds of strategic partnerships genuine ways to boost innovation? Or are they, clever ways to grab power and avoid the usual checks and balances?
And that leads to a really important thought for you, the listener, to mull over. As AI keeps transforming, everything, how do regulators manage that challenge? fostering innovation while also ensuring competition? And what role will these kinds of less conventional deals play in deciding where the tech industry goes next? It's definitely something we're thinking about.
Absolutely. A critical question for the future.
Hmm.
And on that note, that concludes our deep dive for today. We'll catch you on the next exploration.
Thank you for listening to AI Convo Cast. Please don't forget to rate, review, and share if you like what you hear. Thanks and hope to see you again next time.